Ladies and gentlemen, there comes a moment in every life when the mundane is no longer enough. The soul stirs, the heart aches, and the spirit whispers there is more. This is the beginning of a journey, what we call spiritual awakening. But like any journey, it unfolds in stages, each one shaping you, breaking you, and rebuilding you into the person you were created to be. Today, let us walk through the 5 stages of spiritual awakening and ask ourselves, which stage am I in? The first stage begins with a stirring. The call to awareness is a profound and defining moment in the journey of spiritual awakening. It is that pivotal instance when the veil of the mundane begins to lift and you sense that life holds a deeper, more meaningful dimension than what you've been experiencing. It is not a loud or dramatic event, rather it is often subtle, like a whisper in the depths of your soul. You may feel an unshakable restlessness, an inner tug, or a sudden realization that the routines and pursuits that once brought you satisfaction no longer fulfill you. This stirring is not random, it is intentional, purposeful, and divinely orchestrated. This call can manifest in various ways depending on the individual and their circumstances. For some, it comes as a quiet discontentment with the status quo. You might find yourself questioning the value of your achievements, possessions, or relationships. The things that once brought you joy now seem hollow, and the goals you've tirelessly pursued feel meaningless. For others, the call arises in the midst of trials or suffering. A loss, a setback, or a season of hardship can become the catalyst for introspection as you begin to seek answers that go beyond what this world can offer. Whatever the trigger, the essence of this moment is the same, a divine invitation to step out of the ordinary and into the extraordinary. At its core, the call to awareness is not just about noticing that something is missing, it is about recognizing that what you are seeking cannot be found in the material world. It is an awakening to the reality that there is something greater, something eternal, unchanging, and infinitely fulfilling that is drawing you closer. This realization can be both exhilarating and unsettling. Exhilarating because it hints at the possibility of a life beyond limitations, and unsettling because it disrupts the comfortable rhythms of your current existence. When this call comes, it may feel like an interruption to your plans, but it is, in fact, an intervention from the Creator. It is as if God is gently shaking you, saying, there is more for you. The beauty of this moment lies in its simplicity. It doesn't demand immediate action or dramatic changes. Instead, it invites you to pause, reflect, and listen. This is a sacred opportunity to tune into the voice of your spirit, which has been yearning for connection with its source. In this stage, you might notice an increased sensitivity to things you once ignored. The grandeur of nature may suddenly captivate you in a way it never did before, or you might find yourself moved by acts of kindness and compassion. You could feel drawn to spend time alone, seeking clarity in the stillness. These subtle shifts are signs that your spirit is beginning to awaken and your awareness is expanding beyond the physical realm. What you are experiencing is the beginning of a transformation that will affect every aspect of your life. It is important to understand that the call to awareness is deeply personal. No two people experience it in exactly the same way. For some, it may come as a sense of urgency, like a fire burning within that demands attention. For others, it might unfold gradually, like a gentle unfolding of petals in a flower. Regardless of how it comes, this call is always accompanied by a sense of purpose. You may not fully understand it at first, but deep down, you know that you are being prepared for something greater. During this phase, doubts and fears often arise. You might question whether what you are feeling is real or whether you are simply overthinking. The world around you might try to pull you back into its distractions, urging you to ignore the stirring in your soul. But these moments of doubt are part of the process. They challenge you to choose whether you will listen to the voice of your spirit or succumb to the noise of the world. The call to awareness requires courage, for it marks the beginning of a journey into the unknown. This stage is also marked by a heightened sense of curiosity. You might find yourself drawn to explore spiritual teachings, read sacred texts, or engage in conversations about faith and purpose. These are not random interests, they are divinely inspired prompts that guide you toward deeper understanding. It is as if a door has been opened and you are being invited to step through. However, the choice to respond to the call rests with you. God never forces, He only invites. Responding to the call to awareness does not mean you have all the answers or that you know exactly what lies ahead. In fact, part of this stage is embracing the mystery of the journey. It is about acknowledging that there is more to life than meets the eye and being willing to explore it with an open heart. This willingness is the key that unlocks the next steps of spiritual awakening. As you navigate this stage, you may feel a mix of emotions: excitement, confusion, hope, and even fear. These emotions are natural, for you are stepping into a new dimension of existence. The call to awareness is not just a moment, it is an awakening to the truth that has always been within you. It is the first step toward discovering who you truly are and why you were created. The conflict within marks a pivotal and often challenging phase in the journey of spiritual awakening. It is the season where the call to a higher awareness begins to clash with the deeply ingrained patterns, beliefs, and attachments of your old self. This is not a superficial battle. It is a deep internal struggle between what you've always known and what you are beginning to understand. It is the confrontation between your spirit's longing for freedom and your mind's resistance to change. This stage can feel disorienting and at times overwhelming. Doubts may cloud your thoughts, whispering questions like, am I on the right path, or is this even real? You may wrestle with fears of losing what you've built, whether it's relationships, career, or the comfort of familiarity. These fears are rooted in the natural human tendency to cling to what feels safe, even when it no longer serves you. But growth often demands the release of the old to make way for the new. The conflict within is also fueled by the tug of war between worldly attachments and divine purpose. The values and priorities of the material world, which once seemed so important, now begin to feel empty. You might find yourself questioning the relentless pursuit of success, wealth, or recognition. These questions can stir discomfort as they challenge the foundation of your previous way of life. Yet this discomfort is a necessary part of the process. It is the refining fire that prepares you for transformation. In this stage, there is often a deep sense of tension. You may feel pulled in two directions, one toward the life you've always known and the other toward the calling that stirs within your soul. This tension can manifest in various ways. It might show up as a struggle to let go of habits, relationships, or mindsets that no longer align with your evolving self. Or it could surface as a resistance to the discipline and surrender that spiritual growth requires. This inner wrestling is not a sign of failure, it is evidence that change is taking root. It is also common during this stage to feel a sense of isolation. As your perspective shifts, you may find that the people around you don't fully understand what you're going through. Friends and family might question your choices or even discourage your pursuit of spiritual awakening. This can be painful as you navigate the delicate balance between staying true to your journey and maintaining connections with those you care about. However, this isolation can also be a gift. It creates space for introspection and a deeper connection with the divine. The conflict within is a testing ground for your faith and resolve. It is where you confront the limitations of your own understanding and the frailty of your human strength. You may feel as though you are being stretched to your breaking point, but this is where divine intervention begins to work in your favor. In your moments of weakness, you learn to lean not on your own abilities, but on the strength and guidance of God. This dependence is not a sign of defeat. It is the beginning of true empowerment. This stage also brings to the surface the lies and illusions you believe about yourself and the world. Perhaps you've been told you're not enough, that your worth is tied to your performance, or that you must conform to societal standards to find happiness. These lies must be confronted and replaced with truth. It is a painful process to unlearn what you've absorbed for years, but it is also liberating. The conflict within forces you to examine the core of your identity and to begin building a foundation rooted in divine truth. Emotions often run high during this phase. Frustration, anger, sadness, and even despair may arise as you wrestle with the old and the new. These emotions are not your enemy. They are indicators of the transformation taking place within you. Each tear shed, each moment of doubt, and each struggle is a step closer to clarity and renewal. The conflict within is not meant to destroy you, but to strengthen you. It is the crucible where faith is forged, character is refined, and purpose is clarified. As you navigate this stage, you may not always see the progress you're making, but every struggle is a step toward the breakthrough that lies ahead. It is in the conflict that you learn to trust God more deeply, to rely on His wisdom rather than your own, and to persevere even when the path is unclear. This stage is temporary, though it may feel endless at times. The key to enduring it lies in surrendering to the process, even when it's uncomfortable. Surrender doesn't mean giving up. It means letting go of your need to control the outcome and trusting that God's plan for your life is greater than anything you could imagine. It is in the tension of the conflict that your spirit is being prepared for the next stage of awakening, where clarity, peace, and purpose await. The surrender is the turning point in the journey of spiritual awakening. It is a stage marked by profound release, a letting go of the illusion of control that has shaped your decisions, your beliefs, and your sense of identity. After the turbulence of inner conflict, surrender brings a quiet yet powerful shift. It is not an act of weakness, but one of the greatest demonstrations of trust and faith. It is the moment when you stop striving to hold everything together on your own and instead place your life in the hands of the divine. This stage begins with a recognition that the battles you've been fighting both within and around you cannot be won through sheer human effort. It is the realization that no amount of planning, pushing, or resisting can bring about the peace and purpose you've been seeking. This awareness is often accompanied by a sense of weariness, but it is not the exhaustion of defeat. It is the fatigue of carrying a weight you were never meant to bear alone. In this moment, you hear a gentle invitation to lay it all down, to release your burdens, and to trust in something greater. Surrender is not merely a single act, but an ongoing posture of the heart. It begins with a decision, a choice to yield your will, your desires, and your expectations to God. This decision often feels counterintuitive because the world teaches that control is power. But in the spiritual realm, true power is found in surrender. It is in relinquishing control that you make space for divine wisdom, guidance, and provision to flow into your life. In this stage, you come face to face with the limitations of your own understanding. You may realize that the plans you've been clinging to, the outcomes you've been striving for, and the timelines you've been insisting upon are not necessarily aligned with the divine will. This realization can be humbling, as it requires you to acknowledge that your perspective is finite and imperfect. Yet, it is also liberating, for in surrendering your limited view, you open yourself to the infinite possibilities of God's plan. The act of surrender often involves releasing attachments not only to outcomes, but also to identities, roles, and beliefs that no longer serve you. You may find yourself letting go of the need for approval, the pursuit of worldly success, or the compulsion to control every detail of your life. These attachments, though once comforting, are revealed to be barriers to your spiritual growth. In surrender, you exchange the temporary and the superficial for the eternal and the profound. One of the most transformative aspects of this stage is the experience of aligning with divine will. As you surrender, you begin to sense a deeper connection with the Creator. You may find that your prayers shift from requests for specific outcomes to a simple, heartfelt desire for God's will to be done. This alignment brings a sense of peace that surpasses understanding. Even in the midst of uncertainty, you feel a quiet assurance that you are exactly where you are meant to be. Surrender does not mean passivity or inaction. It is not about giving up on your dreams or resigning yourself to fate. Instead, it is about moving forward in faith, trusting that each step you take is guided by divine wisdom. It is about releasing your grip on the how and when and focusing instead on the who and why. Who are you becoming in this process? Why are you here? These questions take precedence over the details of how everything will unfold. In surrender, you also learn the beauty of receiving. When you release the need to control, you create space for divine blessings to enter your life. You may begin to notice synchronicities, doors opening where there were once walls, and answers arriving in ways you never expected. These moments are reminders that the Creator's plans are always greater than your own. They are a testament to the fact that surrender is not about losing, but about gaining what truly matters. This stage often brings a newfound clarity and freedom. As you let go of the need to control outcomes, you also let go of the fear and anxiety that accompany that need. In their place, you find trust in God's goodness, in His timing, and in His ability to bring all things together for your good. This trust becomes the foundation upon which you build the next stages of your journey. Surrender is not without its challenges. There will be moments when you are tempted to take control again, to revert to old patterns of striving and resisting. But each time you choose to surrender, you strengthen your faith and deepen your connection with the divine. It is a process of continual alignment, a daily choice to say, not my will, but yours be done. Through surrender, you come to understand that the journey of spiritual awakening is not about achieving perfection or mastering life. It is about living in harmony with the Creator, trusting Him to lead you, and allowing His will to shape your path. In this stage, you discover the profound truth that surrender is not the end of the journey, but the beginning of a life lived in the fullness of divine purpose and grace. The renewal of mind represents the transformative phase where your thoughts, perspectives, and values undergo a profound shift. After surrendering control and aligning with divine will, you begin to see the world, yourself, and others through a new lens. This stage is a deep internal reconfiguration, a spiritual rewiring that aligns your mind with God's truth and purpose. It is not a fleeting change, but a lasting transformation that reshapes how you think, feel, and respond to life. This renewal is rooted in a deliberate and intentional process. It begins with the recognition that your old ways of thinking are no longer sufficient to carry you forward. The patterns of thought shaped by fear, doubt, and worldly conditioning are replaced by thoughts of faith, hope, and divine wisdom. You are no longer conformed to the patterns of this world, but are being transformed by the renewing of your mind. This transformation is both an invitation and a challenge, requiring you to release the familiar and embrace the new. In this stage, you start to see your life and circumstances from a higher perspective. Situations that once caused frustration or despair now become opportunities for growth and learning. You begin to recognize the divine hand at work, even in the challenges you face. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me, you ask, what is God teaching me through this? This shift in perspective allows you to move through life with greater peace and confidence, knowing that every experience has a purpose in the larger plan. The renewal of your mind also impacts how you see yourself. The lies you once believed about your worth, abilities, and identity are replaced by the truth of who God says you are. You begin to understand that you are fearfully and wonderfully made, created for a unique purpose that no one else can fulfill. This understanding gives you the courage to step into your calling and the humility to depend on God for guidance and strength. As your mind is renewed, your values begin to change. The things that once seemed important, status, possessions, or the approval of others lose their grip on you. Instead, you find yourself drawn to the values of the kingdom: love, humility, service, and faithfulness. But these values become the foundation for your decisions and actions, guiding you toward a life that reflects God's purpose and glory. This stage also brings clarity and discernment. With a renewed mind, you are better equipped to recognize what aligns with God's will and what does not. You develop the ability to test and approve what is good, pleasing, and perfect in His sight. This discernment helps you navigate the complexities of life, making choices that honor God and advance His purpose for your life. The process of renewing your mind is deeply personal, but it is also profoundly relational. It requires a consistent and intimate connection with God through prayer, meditation, and the study of His Word. As you immerse yourself in His truth, your thoughts are gradually transformed. You begin to think God's thoughts, see from His perspective, and align your desires with His heart. This alignment brings a sense of unity and harmony that transcends the chaos of the world. During this stage, you may also notice a shift in your relationships. The renewal of your mind changes how you interact with others, as your thoughts are now guided by love, grace, and compassion. You become more patient, forgiving, and understanding, reflecting the character of Christ in your words and actions. These changes not only bless those around you, but also deepen your own sense of purpose and fulfillment. The renewal of the mind is not a one-time event, but an ongoing journey. It requires intentionality and perseverance as you continually choose to replace old thoughts with new ones. This process can be challenging as it involves confronting deeply rooted beliefs and habits. But each step forward brings greater freedom, joy, and alignment with God's will. As your mind is renewed, you begin to experience the abundant life that Jesus promised. Your thoughts are no longer weighed down by fear, anxiety, or negativity. Instead, they are filled with hope, gratitude, and the assurance of God's love. This inner transformation spills over into every area of your life, influencing your relationships, your work, and your ability to impact the world for His glory. The renewal of mind is a testament to the power of God's grace and the transformative work of the Holy Spirit. It is a reminder that true change begins within as your thoughts align with divine truth. In this stage, you are not only being prepared for greater works, but also becoming a living testimony of God's goodness and faithfulness. Through the renewal of your mind, you step into a life that reflects His purpose, radiates His love, and brings glory to His name. The walk in purpose is the culmination of the spiritual awakening journey, a stage where you move from inner transformation to outward expression. It is where the work God has done within you begins to flow through you, touching the lives of others and fulfilling the divine assignment for which you were created. In this stage, you are no longer searching for meaning, you are living it. Every step you take is guided by purpose, and every action is infused with intentionality. To walk in purpose is to embrace your identity as a vessel of divine will. You recognize that your life is not your own, but a gift entrusted to you for the glory of God and the benefit of others. This realization brings a profound sense of responsibility, but it also fills you with joy and excitement. You understand that you were designed for a unique purpose, and that purpose is now unfolding before you. At this stage, clarity replaces confusion and courage replaces fear. You may not know every detail of the path ahead, but you trust the one who guides you. Your faith becomes the foundation upon which you build your life, and your obedience becomes the key that unlocks doors of opportunity and impact. Each day you wake up with a sense of mission, knowing that your life has significance far beyond what you can see. Walking in purpose requires alignment with God's will. It means staying attuned to His voice, following His guidance, and remaining faithful to His instructions. This alignment is not a burden, but a privilege, as it connects you to the Creator's infinite wisdom and power. You learn to lean on Him in every decision, trusting that He is directing your steps and equipping you for every good work. As you walk in purpose, you begin to see how your unique gifts, talents, and experiences fit into God's greater plan. The trials you endured, the lessons you learned, and the strengths you develop all become tools in His hands. What once seemed like setbacks now reveal themselves as setups for the work you are called to do. Every piece of your story, even the painful ones, finds its place in the mosaic of your purpose. This stage is marked by action. Purpose is not something you simply understand, it is something you live out. You step out in faith, using your gifts to serve others, solve problems, and advance the kingdom of God. Your work, whether it's in ministry, business, art, education, or any other field, becomes an extension of your worship. It is no longer just a means of making a living, but a way of making a difference. Walking in purpose also means embracing a mindset of abundance and stewardship. You understand that everything you have, your time, resources, and influence comes from God and is meant to be used for His glory. This perspective frees you from the fear of lack and empowers you to give generously, knowing that you are part of a larger flow of divine provision. This stage is not without challenges. Walking in purpose often requires stepping outside of your comfort zone, facing opposition, and persevering through difficulties. But these challenges do not deter you, they refine you. You see them as opportunities to grow in faith, build resilience, and deepen your reliance on God. Each obstacle becomes a stepping stone, propelling you further along your path. A key aspect of walking in purpose is the impact you have on others. Your life becomes a beacon of hope, inspiration, and encouragement. Through your actions and words, you point others toward God and invite them to embark on their own journey of awakening. You become a living testimony of what is possible when someone surrenders to God's will and walks in alignment with His purpose. In this stage, you experience a profound sense of fulfillment. There is a deep joy that comes from knowing you are exactly where you are meant to be, doing what you were created to do. This joy is not dependent on external circumstances, but flows from the inner assurance that you are living a life of eternal significance. Walking in purpose is not a destination, but an ongoing journey. Each step leads to new revelations, opportunities, and assignments. As you remain faithful, God continues to expand your influence and deepen your impact. You come to understand that purpose is not just about what you do, but about who you are becoming, a reflection of God's love, wisdom, and power. The walk in purpose is the fullest expression of spiritual awakening. It is a life lived in harmony with God, driven by His vision and fueled by His grace. It is a life that leaves a legacy, not of material wealth or worldly success, but of transformed lives and eternal impact. In this stage, you become a partner in God's work, co-creating with Him a reality that reflects His kingdom and glorifies His name. As we reflect on these stages of spiritual awakening, let us remember that the journey is not just about reaching a destination, it's about becoming. God is not merely calling you to do something, He's calling you to be someone. Every step, every struggle, every surrender, and every triumph is molding you into the image of His purpose. You are not here by accident. The gifts you carry, the vision within you, and the challenges you've overcome are all divine appointments orchestrated to prepare you for your assignment. You are called to rise above the limitations of the past and step into the fullness of your destiny. But hear me well, the journey does not end here. Each stage is a door that leads to deeper dimensions of God's glory and greater manifestations of His purpose in your life. The question is, will you answer the call? Will you embrace the renewal of your mind, walk in your divine purpose, and allow God to use you to transform the lives of others? The time is now. The kingdom of God is waiting for your obedience, your faith, and your willingness to live as a vessel of His will. Rise up, for you were born for such a time as this. Step boldly into your purpose, knowing that He who began a good work in you will be faithful to complete it. The world is waiting for what God has placed within you. So go forth with courage, with faith, and with the assurance that the one who has called you is also the one who equips you. And as you walk this journey, may your life become a testimony of God's power, a reflection of His love, and a legacy that declares to generations yet unborn, this is what it means to live fully awakened in the purpose of God. Amen.